When it comes to writing a story, it is always important to make sure that your main character is constantly challenged, whether that be physically or psychologically, and that is exactly what Gege Akutami, author of Jujutsu Kaisen, had in mind when it came to creating Mahito. Welcome back to the Best of Villain series, where we talk about the best villains that manga has to offer. This time, we are talking about the cursed spirit that embodies humans, Mahito. Mahito is a part and the poster child of a band of special grade curses in the realm of Jujutsu Kaisen that all represent different aspects in which humanity fears. For Mahito, it is the fear of humans, and trust that he does deliver in that concept. Mahito doesn't hold any punches when it comes to, any aspect of his character, which is what makes him so interesting. No matter where he is always on the hunt, looking for something to kill, all while having a childlike gleam to him. Mahito is a special grade cursed spirit who was born off of the hatred spewed between people, and is a part of a band of special grade curses that were born off of cursed energy being directed at different concepts that gathered and became cursed spirits. The rest of them are Dagon, the spirit from the sea, Hanami, the spirit from the forest, and Jogo, the spirit of the earth. Jogo named Mahito to be the leader because they saw Mahito to have the most potential out of them, despite being the weakest of them in the beginning. Mahito throughout the story shows an insane level of progression and adapting to his techniques. Mahito's growth as a cursed spirit mirrors the endless potential that humans have. Him being born from humans pushes him to theoretical heights that the other special grade curses can't reach. Mahito is a sadistic and sociopathic kid. His understanding is very narrow-minded, but he has the strength to allow him to do pretty much whatever he wants. While Mahito does show a form of camaraderie to the other special grade curses, he does not react too much on hearing of Hanami's death at the hands of Gojo, or even wanting to work together with everyone. For example, when he chooses to run off on his own during Shibuya when it would have been much more beneficial to have a pairing of special grade curses together. He even tries to make it a game by trying to see who can get to Itadori Yuji, our main character, first. Mahito goes directly against Jogo's idea of using Yuji as a primary host for Sukuna, the king of curses who inhabits Yuji, to get him on their side, and wants to kill Yuji instead. Mahito believes that he is the embodiment of curses, that he is the bastion of a new era of curses. He believes that by killing Yuji, he will grow greater and have the curses take the place of what humans are. He cannot stand the idea of so many humans surrounding him and uses that as an advantage to get the sneak attack on other humans. He plays with their emotions because he sees it as a weakness, something that he fails to understand, which ultimately leads to his downfall, is that emotions and connections cannot just bring pain, but can also bring strength. Throughout the story, Mahito is to our protagonist, Yuji, in a similar vein to Joker and the Batman. Not a one-to-one, of course, but Mahito wants to see Yuji crack and suffer in ways that is worth the death. To defy Yuji is to win an internal game between the two. You see, Mahito believes that he and Yuji are one and the same. That Yuji saves people without a second thought because he's the embodiment of humanity. Meanwhile, Mahito kills without a second thought because he is the embodiment of curses and the enemy of humanity. Mahito's curse technique plays with the soul, but thanks to Yuji's soul being intertwined with Sukuna's, Mahito can't harm Yuji's soul without a near guarantee of Sukuna's retaliation, which makes Mahito view Yuji more of his antithesis. The ability that allows Mahito to play God and bypass durability by targeting the soul directly does not work on Yuji, and thus Mahito has to be craftier in his altercations with him and forces him outside of his simple way of doing things. Mahito toys with Yuji and sees just how far it is until Yuji is destroyed on the inside, how long it will be until he cracks. First, he sets up the scenario with Junpei, and at the worst possible moment, Mahito kills Junpei right as he was finally going to come to Yuji's lend of aid and become a jujutsu sorcerer. However, it was thanks to Kento Nanami, who was there at the time, to help assist Yuji in the fight and gain control of Yuji's wavering spirit. So, during the Shibuya incident, Mahito makes sure to target Nanami and kills him right in front of Yuji so that he can break his spirit. Yuji sees this right after witnessing the destruction that Sukuna caused Yuji to go through by possessing his body in Shibuya, so Yuji's spirit is already fluctuating. After that, a clone of Mahito's runs into Kuisaki Nobara, who is one of Yuji's close friends. During this fight, Nobara's curse technique, Resonance, caused her to figure out that the Mahito she was fighting was a clone, as her damage afflicts the soul, which affected the actual Mahito. This, in turn, signaled to Yuji that Nobara was fighting alongside him, and he regained some hope. Mahito ends up baiting Nobara to come to where the fight between Mahito and Yuji is happening in, where Nobara is seemingly killed in front of Yuji. In Yuji's eyes, everything collapsed. Everything he believed in became overwhelmingly buried in a pile of guilt. Guilt that carries him throughout the rest of the series, where he ends up developing a form of survivor's guilt in living when so many others did not make it. Yuji was now alone. Two people that he fought alongside with on multiple occasions, two people that he thought could cover his weak spots and he could cover theirs, are now gone. By defeating Nanami, someone that is an influential role model to Yuji, and Nobara, someone that is in his own class and is the same age as him, it shatters any remaining concept of survivability in Yuji's head, and that everything will go back to what it was pre-Shibuya incident. That is Mahito's goal. Since he dubbed Yuji to be his diametric opposite, crushing him means that he was right in the struggle against humanity. Him winning dooms everything, and that is exactly what he wants. It was thanks to Aoi Todo, who showed up in the nick of time, who refocused Yuji when he was about to break. Yuji, at this point, is destroyed beyond belief, so reconstructing himself is not as simple as one would think. Instead, Yuji hardens himself and understands what must be done. Yuji eventually becomes the hunter to Mahito, and even admits that Mahito is right. They are one and the same, and Yuji vows to hunt down Mahito in any variation he plans on coming in next time. That no matter what, Yuji will be there to stop him. This is a representation of humanity stating that they will stand tall and strong in the face of curses, no matter how hard that they come at them. Humanity has survived harsher instances before, and the human spirit is strong enough to withstand such attacks. This here is also a prime example of Mahito's consistent issue of oversimplifying things. Mahito, in his childlike nature, boils things down to painting things as black and white. Mahito views humans as nothing and believes that Yuji does the same for curses. He makes Yuji a game, forcing him to play down at Mahito's level, forcing Yuji down into that black and white thinking to where when Yuji cornered Mahito, it was too late for him. By that point, Mahito already made a true monster, akin to a wolf hunting its prey. Mahito views himself as the representative of curses, and he views Yuji as the representative of humans. While Yuji cares and shows passion to his friends and are affected by strong emotions, Mahito likes working on his own, and he likes manipulating emotions and those who are afflicted by them. Of course, it is much more nuanced than that. Cursed spirits can and do show sympathy for one another, but that is not important to the simple thinking in Mahito. There is a reason why we see humans and cursed spirits working together with one another in Choso and the rejoining of Yuta into the story with the inclusion of Rika after Mahito's departure in the story. Mahito's defeat was the beginning of people like Yuji moving past the concept of the lines being as clear-cut as possible. Yuji's next opponents are humans even, showing that the story of Jujutsu Kaisen is no longer about good versus evil with humans versus cursed spirits, but instead what qualifies as good and evil, and are those factors predetermined. Yuji himself is a half-cursed spirit, same as Choso. Yuji also is Sukuna's vessel, which does not make Yuji any less human, and his continued existence and chosen to push for continuing to live is enough proof to prove Mahito wrong. Mahito has an insane level of impact on the story. He ends up killing Junpei, Nanami, and takes Nobara out for a majority of the story. He also caused Yuji intense psychological damage that forced him to grow as a person to handle such situations. Yuji is forced to change fundamentally as a person because of Mahito. Not only that, but he is also a factor when it came to the special grade Curse's plan to capture Satoru Gojo during the Shibuya incident. By transmutating a bunch of civilians, Gojo was forced to act and use a 0.2 second domain expansion and kill the transfigured humans, but at the cost of his stamina that, alongside Kenjaku appearing as Geto, caused Gojo to be sealed in the prison realm until chapter 221. Considering he got sealed in chapter 90, that's 131 chapters, and that, out of Jujutsu Kaisen's total chapter count of 271, means that Mahito was an instrumental hand in removing the opposing side's strongest warrior by a long metric for 48% of the series. He also serves as a wildcard, the person you would least want to appear out of nowhere, and someone you would always have to keep watch on. He is a constant reminder to both Yuji and the reader that sometimes characters are just evil, and their way of thinking cannot be understood by everyone, nor should it. He serves as a constant thorn to every character that interacts with him, even to his comrades. He is what the stereotypical outlook of what a curse should be. We think of curses as something negative, and while a part of the story's themes are that not all curses have to be bad, and it is about how one views their curse that determines whether or not it is a bad thing, but Mahito, especially being one of Yuji's curses metaphorically, is there to show the bad sides of curses, and by being defeated, shows that this simple view of curses is also wrong, and too conventional in way of thinking, that ultimately limits the growth of not only Mahito, but every character in the series that thinks this way. Mahito's curse technique is called idol disfiguration, where he uses his cursed energy to make contact with the opposer's soul and alter it to his liking. He uses this technique to various different degrees in the series, from turning Junpei from an average high school boy into a demorphed creature that lost most of its neural functions as he attacked Yuji and also lost his ability to speak coherently and died soon after. He also used it to blow off different parts of bodies like Nobara's eye and Nanami's upper torso, and singed Todo's hand when Todo high-fived it so that he could use his Boogie Woogie curse technique. He can also use a technique called polymorphic soul isomer, where he can summon a soul he has saved to a soldier that will fight for him. Mahito also used it to restore Mechamaru's body, as Mechamaru had something called a heavenly restriction that caused his body to be crippled in exchange for strong curse technique. Mahito healing it and bypassing the restriction is something that is not only rather impressive, as it removes something that can't be removed by normal means, but also gives the person who had the restriction to have no weakness. Mechamaru only died because he fought to the death with Mahito. and was just weaker than him. But if Mechamaru survived, he would have genuinely been a problem for the cursed spirits. Mahito also ends up being able to split his own soul into 2 different versions of himself, with the double unable to use his curse technique. The other big way that he uses idol disfiguration is actually on himself in the battle between Yuji and Todo. He ends up transforming his body into a creature that lost his facial features in exchange for armor, and something protruding from his head that looks like a crown, with the form being called Instant Spirit Body of Distorted Killing. Mahito also has a domain called Self-Embodiment of Perfection, which causes a bunch of hands to come out and create the domain. By using this technique, he is able to guarantee him touching someone's soul and activate his idol disfiguration, basically guaranteeing the kill against his opponent. Mahito also has the ability to successfully activate his domain for 0.2 seconds. He did this in his fight against Yuji and Todo because of the fact that Sukuna exists in Yuji's soul, and the moment that Mahito tried to use idol disfiguration on Yuji, Sukuna retaliated since that would affect Sukuna as well, and Mahito cannot stand up to Sukuna. So, to get around that, after seeing the 0.2 second domain from Gojo, Mahito does it as a last-ditch effort in attempts to launch a domain fast enough before Sukuna can react. Since we are on the topic of talking about Mahito and the soul, there's an interesting question that Mahito poses in the series. He poses the question to Nanami initially on what came first, the soul or the body. Similar to the question of what came first, the chicken or the egg. Mahito initially believes that the soul came before the body, but after Kenjaku succeeds in sealing Gojo, Gojo gets Geto's body to react to his words and attempt to retaliate against Kenjaku in his own body. Kenjaku then tells Mahito that it seems that both the body and the soul are intertwined. Geto's soul exists still because his body is still active. Even if the soul is dormant, Geto still exists. There is one last thing that I want to go over regarding Mahito's moveset, and that is the fact that he was able to achieve multiple black flashes. It is stated by the narrator that the sparks of black do not choose the ones that it blesses, which includes cursed spirits. Mahito is able to land a black flash on Yuji after defeating Nobara. Enamored with his own talent and reflection of him being a cursed spirit, he was able to achieve that 0.000001 second application of cursed energy before his impact on Yuji, which allowed him not only to get a better understanding of cursed energy, which helped him hit the black flash more consistently afterwards, but it also increased his potential as well as dealing 2.5 times the damage that it would normally do onto Yuji. It is even stated that hitting a black flash causes you to bring out 120% of your own potential. Mahito even states after achieving it that it is the true essence of his soul. He starts to learn about who he truly is after achieving the black flash. After hitting a black flash a second time, Mahito even states that he found the true essence of his soul and goes under a form of rebirth using the aforementioned Instant Spirit Body of Distorted Killing. There are only a collective handful to hit a black flash in Jujutsu Kaisen's run in the first place. To be a part of that club should not go unnoticed. Despite coming off as a simple character, Mahito's constant development and further understanding of himself puts him as one of the more dangerous cursed spirits that we see in the series, and if he was not stopped right there in Shibuya, he could have become a much bigger issue that could have evolved to the point where he could not have been stopped. Mahito is one of Gege's masterpieces when it comes to his ensemble. His dynamic with every character he interacts with is, at the very least, fun to watch, and at the very most, some of the best writing in the series. Mahito was taken by Kenjaku using Geto's curse technique to manipulate cursed spirits, and we do see him in a limbo space in between living and the afterlife at the end of the series as him and Sukuna meet before Sukuna moves on to the afterlife with Uraume. In the sequel series, Jujutsu Kaisen Modulo, we see mention of both Yuji in the future, and Mahito appears to Tsurugi Okotsu as he was unconscious facing severe injuries. So there is a good chance that we see Mahito back in the story, and I do hope that we see the ever-fated rematch between him and Yuji. But that's all I got. If you liked what you heard, consider subscribing and liking the video. But other than that, I'll talk to you guys later. Okay, bye.